we are going to talk about an episode of Blackish. Now, this is a strange situation because this was something that I wasn't actually like that I didn't even really know about when it first happened, and so yeah. Anyways, apparently there was an episode of Blackish, which is an ABC show, starring Anthony Anderson, Tracy Ellis Ross. Yep. Lawrence Fishburne,
and this was created by
Kenya Barris.
Yeah.
And so it's been a long-running ABC show. In I believe its third season, which was like 2-3 years ago, right? Back in 2018, I believe. There was an episode called "Please Baby Please," which they shot the episode. It was approved by the time that it was, because every step of the way, basically the studio has to like sign off on an episode of any show, right?
Yeah,
like they look at
because there are costs associated with it, their schedules,
exactly. They have to clear all that, right? And so they clear this episode, and they shoot the episode, but then in like the fucking fourth quarter with 2 minutes left to go, they fucking they pull the starting quarterback out of the game. They basically shelved the episode because they were like, oh, it's too controversial, is essentially what the idea was, and so and this was such a weird situation to the point where it actually caused Kenya Barris to leave ABC, or I guess
Disney.
It would be Disney. It caused him to leave Disney in favor of Netflix. Now he did get the bag from Netflix, bag. He's not doing too bad, right? So don't shed any tears for Kenya, right?
He actually came up.
Yeah, he came up on a serious bag. So, he's doing okay. But that's how kind of like contentious this thing was, and so, so what happened is that after all of these, George Floyd, all these protests that are going on. Well, now ABC decides, hey, it's as good as time as any to release this episode. And so apparently one of the reasons why that, or I guess the going reason for why they shelved the episode was because the episode, it was essentially Dre. So Anthony Anderson plays Dre on the show. He's the father in the family.
Yep.
And he's reading, he's reading a bedtime story to his newly born son, and so it basically the bedtime story he's reading is essentially talking about, and it was actually a story. I think it was the actual story he's reading is "Please Baby Please" by I think Spike Lee, and it was co-written I think also by somebody else as well. But it actually has to do with like Trump and about basically the time period that we're currently in. And apparently that's the reason why the episode was pulled, was because it spoke basically specifically about Trump and is a pretty anti-Trump episode, and had a lot of anti-Trump like rhetoric in it, and then it also bigged up Barack Obama, and so apparently it was that reason why ABC pulled the episode, and so I went back and I watched it, and I watched the episode "Please Baby Please." ABC fucked up. Fucked up.
Was it a great episode?
That's the sad part. It wasn't even like it was any different than any other Blackish episode.
Yeah.
That's the mind-blowing
there were maybe like
part
2 minutes of
there's no doubt about it that the episode's like basically balls to the wall, fuck Trump.
Yeah.
And also they talked about Kaepernick. There's like 2-3 minutes about Kaepernick.
Gotcha.
About Andre Jr., who's Dre's son, his first son, he's debating on whether he should, how he feels about the kneeling, and he doesn't necessarily come down on the, oh well, I'm with the kneeling. He actually, it's more about like, oh, like I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad, right?
Yeah.
But they try to like hash it out, about going through the pros and cons of it all, right? But for anybody who watches Blackish, any episode of Blackish, that they don't shy away from weird topics, and not even weird topics, but like controversial topics, especially in this time period that we've been in. The ABC even replayed episodes that they've already released of them talking about protesting, them talking about police brutality, all those things, right? Like really sort of like to the bone stuff. And this was before, they came out with these episodes before the current climate.
Yeah, because this was from like 2 years ago, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying it sounds like what ABC did, 2 years ago when they made the decision to shelve this episode was they were trying not to offend an audience in which this show is not even really designed for, right? They were like, our Republican, Trump supporting Hulu subscribers and viewers, like we don't want to offend them, even though they're probably not watching this show.
Well, so that's actually the interesting thing about the show is I actually really think it actually is a show that actually is meant for people who like aren't like who may be like Republicans or whatever. It's like a show that tries to put things in a context that is just like, oh, okay, that doesn't seem unreasonable.
Sure, but let's be real. Do you think your Fox News watching, 45-year-old white suburban housewife is watching Black? They might in the basement. Like, let's see what they're up to.
Fuck that.
Let me turn it down a little bit. But again, for the most part, right? Like certain shows are designed for certain audiences, certain demographics. I don't think this show is speaking to the Trump supporting demographic, right? But I think Hulu tried to make a decision here. It's like, hey, well, we don't want to offend that audience because they're still subscribers of our network, right? And now they realize that, okay, here's an opportune time to like undo a bad decision that we made and try and spin it to make it look like we're trying to be we're trying to be a part of the conversation. So they were like, hey, we did this shitty thing before, but now, hey, look, like we're releasing the episode. You can go and watch it. We're a part of this like social justice movement. We want to be on the right side of this. I mean, you got to be careful of the companies that you're spending your money with, you're spending your time with, and the decisions that they're making now versus some of the decisions that they've made in the past.
100%. And I think that's what I've been trying to stress in this, like, forget tweets, forget the, hashtag Black Lives Matter, forget all that they're putting out, right? Look at historically what they've done and also look at like the heart of what they're doing, meaning that like, are they actually instituting any actual change to their companies or trying to enact any real change outside of their companies, right? Like, there's one thing to have the rhetoric of it, of talking like, oh yeah, we're about this, we're about that. Then there's the other side of it of actually doing the shit, right? And so ABC is kind of showing their stripes, or ABC, or furthermore Disney is showing their stripes here. But the very interesting thing, and this is not from, clearly not from me, but this is from Vanity Fair. But they point something out that's very fucking key in the situation. Back in 2018, if we all remember, Disney was in the process of trying to acquire 21st Century Fox, which needed to get approved by the Justice Department. Now, if they release an episode that's blatantly like, fuck Trump, that might not be so easy to fucking get, because Trump is just that petty where he'd see the episode and be like, nah, fuck that shit, kill that,
kill the deal.
And so that actually might be the politics behind it of like, okay, like maybe they were just trying to kind of play the game and trying to make sure that deal went through smoothly, which is why they pulled the episode. But then I think that points to the inherent problem in all of this, which is how can you get past the idea of like, and I feel like maybe this is the wrong word to use in this case, but maybe it's the right, I don't know. But how can you get past greed? Because I think that's going to be at the heart of all of the conversations about, equality, whatever it is that you want to talk about, or people even just like voicing like, hey, here's how we actually feel about any particular situation, right? Kenyon Barris and the rest of the team with Blackish from day one, it seems like they've been given basically a ticket to be like, all right, you guys kind of do what you do. And I'm sure that they fought behind the scenes to do some other shit that they wanted to do that they didn't get to do. But it seems like for the most part that they've gotten a chance to like say shit that is just like, okay, this isn't commonly said on like network TV. But when you really start pushing some buttons and you really start fucking up people's money, that's when people are like, ooh, I don't know. Should we say this? Should we release the episode? I don't know.
Yeah.
Once they know that it actually might affect them directly and specifically with their pockets, and it's like, well, how do you get around that? And I don't know if that's not an answer. Clearly, we're not gonna we're not gonna get to the answer of that here on this podcast. But I think that is at the heart of all of these issues that we're having in society. Is you have people who have things and have access to things, as far as like money, as far as opportunities, all those things. But when you start fucking up that opportunity and that money, that's when it becomes like,
yeah,
I mean, do Black lives really matter?
Yeah, the hard truth is that like there is, unfortunately, a lot of these companies, right, are not going to be willing to go through like some massive necessary like internal overhauls that they need unless there's like a financial incentive. So I was looking at the story earlier about the Redskins. They appointed former Cardinals running back. His name is Jason Wright. They appointed him president of like football operations, right? Yeah. Which makes him the first African American president of any football team in the NFL, in NFL history, right? Yeah. So it's like a huge moment. Now, do I think that the now Washington football team, no longer the Redskins, would be doing this if they weren't in the predicament that they're currently in? Oh, no. As much as I'm proud of this guy for being appointed to this position, I'm happy that he's in this position, and I wish him the utmost success. And I do think he deserved the position, right? I don't think Netflix would have. I'm sorry, not Netflix. I don't think the Washington football team would have made this decision if they were in a different circumstance, right? Yeah. If, people didn't put pressure on FedEx and Nike to stop sponsoring the Redskins. And then when the Redskins saw that, hey, we're going to lose billions of dollars if FedEx and Nike stop their relationship with us. Okay, fine. We'll drop the long-standing, super racist Redskins name and logo, and we'll go through those changes, and we're going to try and be socially sensitive, right? That's what happened here with the Hulu thing too. It's like they're like, this is fucking up our money. We might lose out on this deal if we air this episode, and so we're going to cap, or we're going to censor your creativity because it's fucking with our financial gain. Yeah. And then, at a time when it's more convenient for us, then we're going to try and spin that, and we're going to try and make it look like we're just doing the right thing now. And maybe we've learned from our lessons, and we want to be on the right side of the story.
And that's actually what I hate about where we sort of sit at right now with society is that now it's in vogue, right? So now it's trendy. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. I'm with it. I'm hip. I'm jiggy. And it's just like, I mean, you are when it's in vogue, but a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now.
Yeah, or 4 years ago.
Yeah, or 4 years ago. If you want to look to see what somebody's likely to do, well, look at their past, right? Like that's the kind of the easier way to tell. It's not 100%, solidified that you can predict what they're going to do based off of what they've done, because people are capable at times of changing. But we're not necessarily dealing with people here. We're dealing with corporations, which have board members, which have
stakeholders.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I fucking blanked on a very easy thing to say. But which have stakeholders, which have people that are looking for money, and they need whatever it is, whether it's doing. Whether it's not talking about these sort of socially relevant issues and just kind of staring ahead as if like nothing else is happening in the world, then they're like, just do that, don't fuck up the money for all of us. And I think again therein lies the issue with the whole scenario of this change or this movement, right? Is that once you start fucking up people's money, well, okay, now we're talking about a different game.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they released the episode, but also it's kind of like, and quite honestly, and for anybody who's listening, just go out and watch it. And if you're even remotely familiar with Blackish, you'll be like, I have no understanding of why they wouldn't release this episode in the first place. It is no more.
Nothing crazy was said. They just were being overly sensitive to it at the time because it could affect a business deal, which is just a shitty reason to to censor someone's creativity, because it's like, let me get this. I'm gonna wait till the check clears first, and then you can be and go. They go be nice and
The
creative.
direct deposited.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh,
Release
cleared?
it.
Okay, good. Do whatever you want now.
Yeah. All right. Let's.